everyone. Welcome back to our sessions on clearing, simplifying, decluttering, or whatever word you want to call it, getting rid of the CRAP, as one person told me. But it's moving things or stuff that no longer work for you in your life space. Perhaps they're even causing frustrations or getting in the way, or it just doesn't work. And that is wrapped up with mindful living. You know, living in the moment, living in a more simple way, and not having all the stuff all around you that no longer works. So I hope this past week you were able to pause a little bit, and no matter how small your effort may have seemed, that if you move some things, some stuff out of your living space, and all the while, and this is important, you were gentle with yourself, as we spoke about last time, and you celebrated the move towards a more mindful lifestyle. Yahoo! I'm very proud of you. But also remember, perhaps you're just listening along as we talk about, or as I talk about and share some of my experiences with clearing and simplifying. Because maybe right now in February, at this moment, you are not ready to even clean out a drawer. That's okay. This information will be available in Bamboo when the time is right for you. So, some of the feedback, well, actually, a lot of the feedback that I received last week about people who have either jumped on board and are trying to do some decluttering right now, or they've tried to do this in the past, they say something like, you're right, Marcia, this clearing stuff is really hard work. And I'm here to tell you, it is hard and it is work. And it can be at all levels of difficulty depending upon your level of clearing that's needed for a more mindful lifestyle in your situation. We all are different. And, you know, I have found too, it doesn't matter if we're a single person in our own apartment after a couple years, or we've been married and have a family and we are now looking at maybe downsizing. We have a 5-bedroom home. The amount of stuff, okay, you can get more, obviously, in that 5-bedroom home, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not as cluttered feeling or full or not working for what I want in my life anymore, any more in that large home than it would be in a small apartment, or how long you've walked the planet. So remember that this is very personable, very individualized, and each person's going to experience it a little differently. But don't judge. It's not judging whether one person's road is harder than another and that seems easy to me. It's the fact that you're making a movement of taking care of things that no longer work for you. So I mentioned from the very beginning when we first talked about this that I would invite a conversation about the difficulty. And as a wonderful friend of mine in mindful living shared with me, and I use it often, is that when a difficulty comes into your life, and in this case, the difficulty of clearing possibly, you greet it, name it, and invite it. And in this case, we'd be inviting difficulty of clearing into tea, inviting difficulty into tea. And it just sounds so like, what? You know, any kind of difficulty. Why wouldn't I just want to ignore it? You know, that's where things become complicated in life oftentimes, and we ignore it with behaviors that sometimes are very negative and not healthy and not good for ourselves. And it also, by ignoring it, doesn't get us to what our heart's desire is, and that is to do this clearing. So I'm going to invite the difficulty of clearing into tea. And the first thing is, I'm absolutely going to acknowledge that it's difficult immediately. I'm not going to pretend, not going to compare. I'm just going to say, hey, it is. And for me, it sounded something like this. Hey, Marsh, you've been doing this now for several hours, and I am just really feeling like I'm lacking the will to keep going. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Or, Really, Marcia? Look at this pile that I've taken out of this closet. There just seems to be more and more and more the more I pull it out. And now there's so much junk here to tackle. I can't even get out the door of this room. Or, Marcia, 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 you've got all the stuff on your bed now. So which pile do you sort this brand new tote with the price tag on it? No, Marcia, you're not going to shame yourself. No, Marcia, you're not going to shame yourself. But the price tag's still on it. So do I keep it? You don't do the sell thing. Or do I donate it? Or would I trash it? Which pile do I sort it? Oh, and then there's, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have spent way more than my usual budget is on kitchen appliances and stuff. And I made Lefse once. It was so fun though. I want to do it again. And if I had to buy all this stuff again, it'd be so expensive. It'd be more because this was like 8 years ago. I can't justify giving it away. This one is the kicker for me all the time. But Marsh, your favorite Aunt Julia gave, oh, I remember I got this coin purse from her. Like, I think it was about 4th grade when she brought it home from her trip to see relatives in Hungary. I mean, after all, this is like an ancestry piece of mine. And even though it's kind of crackled and falling apart, what do I do with it? I just don't know. There's so emotion attached to it. And finally, I found myself asking myself this at the beginning, more so than once I figured out a little hint. Why was cleaning out this same closet? I haven't changed closets. The same closet. Why was it easier, Marcia, to do last Saturday? And today it seems like such a chore. Why? Hey, friends, hey, ranchers, does any of this sound familiar to you? And while maybe your speed bumps differ, our thoughts can really derail us from our progress of getting the declaring done. So I have learned the best way to tackle this was as follows for me, and I hope it works for you. First, before you allow those negative thoughts and then your emotions to hijack you and take you far, far, far away from the task at hand, I know this sounds weird, but it's important to consciously relax the body. You see, where the body goes, the mind will follow, and vice versa. But to take a few deep breaths, 2 or 3, and at the same time, do that body scan of where am I feeling a little tension, or where do I need to soften or maybe stretch out a muscle, and just begin to soften your body and relax. Now, after you've consciously been aware and you can feel that relaxation taking place, because it's easier to feel and see immediate something in your body than it is sometimes in the mind. So now that you're relaxing your body, begin to relax your thoughts. Think back as to why. Remember, I told you the when. Why were you doing this in the first place? Why did you want to simplify your life and be more mindful? Third, can you identify what the issue is right now that's causing you to start to feel out of control? Maybe it's there's just too much stuff. Where did it all come from? Look around to what you've already accomplished. That closet that seems to not be fun today, well, look inside there and see what you've done. Did you celebrate that progress when you finished it? And if you didn't do it now, acknowledge the fact that it's looking pretty good in there. And also, oftentimes it's wrapped around the timeline. Like, I got to get this done. Remember, there's really no timeline, friends. It's really meeting your schedule based on your resources of time and energy and desire. Yeah, I thought I was going to finish it like in a couple of weeks and a month at math. And when I went through the first summer, I thought, oh my God, it's got to be done before, school starts again. But I had to remember that all this stuff for me didn't accumulate in one day, and it can't be cleared in one day. And if I'm going to do it in a mindful way where I don't just dig in and kill myself trying to finish it on somebody's crazy time scale or somebody else's expectations or even my bad expectations, then I need to realize that I can only do it in the small chunks of my resources. If it costs so much, it still has the tag on it. It's still worth so much if I had to go out and buy it again. And oh my gosh, it's brand new. No amount of mourning your past spending can give you your money back. Acknowledge and say to yourself, Marcia, it's too bad you never wore it or you never used it. You must have had a reason at the time. Maybe it wasn't the right time to buy it and you bought it just because it looked good and you were with friends. Whatever the reason, it's the past. I can't do anything about it. I can only recognize it right now and move forward. Being mindful that, yeah, there is some value here. So if I do thrift it and give it away, they'll be able to get some dollars for their organization. Look at what's the positive piece of it. Rather than, and the positive piece of what you can it will actually do and you can affect in the future versus the past, which you have no power or control over. Fourth, those sentimental items, I had them from my family, my friends, my students, my teachers, myself. I mean, that coloring book of third grade crayon colors and all of my elementary school report cards. Loved them, had them all. To be honest, I'm still working in this area. I worked a lot in my office this past summer trying to make some decisions about all the stuff I had been saving. Perhaps if you have a bunch of things that are similar, like save one of those grade cards and you could toss the rest. But if you can't decide, like if I can't decide right now, the other thing you can do, a lot of people use these, apps on these devices and take photos and keep photos as remembrances instead of the actual object. I haven't chose to go in that direction. I'm still dealing with, do I want to keep the object or not? But if you can't decide right now, rather than letting that derail me, and I'm stuck on this coin purse from Hungary, and I can't move on, don't. I have now a container, I call it my sentimental sort, that container, that I just put those items in and I'll revisit later. I don't know, maybe it'll be next week, maybe it'll be next year. I don't know. I don't have to decide that right now. I just know right now I can't make a decision. I don't want it to derail me, so I'm putting it into that container. That really freed me from getting stuck in the sentimental zone. And finally, remember a time when it was easy, like you're having difficulty now. Was there ever a time when it was really kind of easy peasy? Like working in that closet last Saturday felt really good. Well, what made it that way? What emotions did you bring to the project? Were you like ready to get going that day? Was it about that closet? Maybe you were playing music that you were really jamming to and that helped you to do the clearing. A window cracked with some fresh air. Maybe you had more energy and you had allotted more time than you are today. All of that stuff and so many other variables in our environment. Where are our kids right now? Our significant other? I mean, all that stuff really has an effect on how we're feeling at the moment. So if you can recreate the environment that was so positive for you in the past, right now, and into the future, if at all possible, do so. If it worked, let it work again. So those are just a few ideas of when you get stuck and when you see difficulty. This next week, I'm going to take you on a worldwide tour. I mean, we're going to go quick through a typical home and the typical living spaces. So I can briefly mention some highs and lows and ideas that might get you stuck or might get you through in each area. perhaps this week during your pause, you could identify some of those rooms or areas that you're wondering about and send me an email, dakotaranch.org, M. Bartok, and send it to me so that I can be sure to address it. And if I have no idea, I'll let you know that. But if I can address it, it might help others too besides yourselves. And in all things, until next week, please, ranchers, be well.